What if I told you that everything you believe you know about Jim Jones and Chrissy is a complete lie? Yes, you heard me correctly. But what if I told you that Camron, the same Camron we all know, just destroyed everything they've built in one move? He entered that courtroom and tore apart their idyllic little world, and I promise you won't believe the secrets he just revealed. The twist is that Jim Jones, the man who believed he was untouchable, and that we all believed couldn't do anything wrong, lost it all in front of the world. He stood there exposed as the walls collapsed around him, and Chrissy, you won't even recognize her after this. Do you really think that Jim Jones, the mastermind behind all of this, was unaware that the truth is much worse than you realize? Camron just revealed a scandal that will leave you stunned. What happens when the people you trust most in the world turn against you in the most public way possible? When everything you've worked so hard to build comes tumbling down, isn't just another celebrity scandal, it's the scandal of the year. Don't stay put, because this is just the beginning. As the days went by, the situation became more complicated, and the public became obsessed with it. The video footage that had surfaced was game-changing, but it didn't provide the clarity everyone had hoped for. It was blurry and inconclusive, showing two figures in a car that could have been Melly and his alleged co-conspirator Bortland, but the lack of concrete made it impossible to definitively identify them. It seemed like everyone was waiting for the next piece of the puzzle to fall into place, but each new rumor only served to fuel the fire. Would Melly walk free, or would the evidence against him be too overwhelming? The prosecution wasn't backing down either. It might not be crystal clear. It still placed Melly at the scene at a crucial time. What was even more concerning for Melly's defense was the revelation about his past, as several former associates came forward claiming that Melly had made veiled threats before the murders took place. The defense team took advantage of this uncertainty, arguing that the footage was too vague to hold any real weight in court, and that it was just another attempt to confuse the jury and create doubt sway public opinion, rather than present a factual account of the events. As if things couldn't get any worse, Melly's longtime friend and co-defendant finally took action. Rumors about a potential plea deal was negotiating with the prosecution for a reduced sentence in exchange for testimony. According to them, Melly had expressed anger and frustration about being betrayed, and some even claimed that he had threatened to take matters into hands if things didn't go his way. The courtroom was on fire, and the tension was palpable as Bortland's move set off a wave of speculation and fear that this would be the end of Melly's defense. His best friend was about to betray him for a lighter sentence, and fans of the rapper were in disbelief. The Free Melly movement appeared to be losing steam as more and more people questioned his innocence. This was a devastating blow to Melly's case because Bortland had been the last line of defense for his story, but the prosecution had an insider with intimate knowledge of the events prior to the murders. A former member of Melly's inner circle came forward and claimed to have direct knowledge of Melly's involvement in the murders. The whistleblower, who was given anonymity for their protection, claimed to have witnessed Melly disposing of evidence and to have been involved in the aftermath of the killings. They also claimed that Melly had confessed to them in private conversations about the specifics of the murders. The whistleblower's testimony was explosive and appeared to confirm the worst fears of those who thought Melly was guilty. The defense, of course, attempted to discredit the whistleblower. In the final blow, a leaked recording of a conversation between Melly and his lawyer suggested a plea deal. In the recording, Melly seemed concerned about the outcome of the case and discussed the possibility of pleading guilty to lesser charges to avoid a life sentence. The recording was devastating because if Melly was truly considering a plea deal, it would mean he was willing to admit guilt, which could be enough to sway the jury's opinion once and for all. Testimony and the growing list of witnesses against Melly were beginning to paint a troubling picture, and with each new piece of evidence, the walls were closing in on him. Capitalizing on the recording, they used it as evidence that Melly knew he was guilty, and that he was attempting to avoid the consequences of his actions by striking a deal. The defense, of course, denied the recording's authenticity, but by that point, the damage had been done, and the public was now doubting everything about Melly's case. Meanwhile, his supporters were divided. Some continued to support him, arguing that the system was biased against him and that he was the victim of a vast conspiracy, while others began to feel the weight of the evidence against him. Could it be true? Even as the case reached its climax, the most shocking development of all came in the form of Melly's statement to the court, during the final stages of the trial. Melly took the stand in defense, and his testimony was filled with emotion as he denied any involvement in the case. Everyone's only thought was whether Melly would walk free or face life in prison. The legal drama had become a worldwide spectacle, and the media outlets couldn't get enough of it. Social media exploded with every new update, leak, and twist in the case. Celebrities and influencers weighed in, offering their opinions on Melly's guilt or innocence. The murders and maintained his innocence. His upbringing, his struggles, and how he had always tried to act morally. The moment was intensely personal and emotional, and it appeared to influence some people in the courtroom. But was it enough? The world would soon learn whether Melly's passionate plea to the jury would be sufficient to persuade them that he was innocent as the trial came to a close. The final act deliberated, and everyone waited to see if Melly would be found guilty, or free again despite the overwhelming evidence against him. Regardless of the verdict, one thing was certain. This case had changed. A full-on public meltdown because the drama between Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin isn't just about personal betrayal. Oh no, this is a full-on public meltdown. The story of YNW Melly was about a system, a celebrity, and the world of fame and fortune, colliding in ways no one had ever expected. The stage was set for the final act, but only time would tell if the truth would ever come to light once the secrets started to spill. The public doesn't know everything, but Camron didn't drop all of his bombs in the courtroom. Instead, he's been letting those truths leak out one by one, and they're slowly sinking Jim and Chrissy's ship. What we learned from the court documents, that Camron allegedly had in his possession, documents that are now in the hands of investigative reporters, is shocking for one reason. Jim wasn't even the only person who made decisions regarding his career and finances. The woman who has gained notoriety as Jim's ride or die was actually pulling all the strings behind the scenes. She wasn't just a supportive girlfriend. She was the one making the big decisions, managing the money, and forming the story of their relationship. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You see, Jim may have been the one in front of the cameras rapping and entertaining the audience at his concerts, but when it came to the money, the real wealth they were amassing, Chrissy had her hands all over it. Trust me, this is a big deal. According to sources, Camron allegedly discovered that Jim and Chrissy had engaged in some dubious financial transactions. By dubious, I mean that money intended for their business was being transferred into shell companies through hidden accounts and even used for personal expenses unrelated to their careers. The worst part is that wasn't even an error. Rather, it was a carefully planned scheme to conceal their wealth and keep it out of the public eye, and Camron wasn't going to let them get away with it. The couple's dark secrets, according to those same anonymous sources, didn't end there. From the beginning of their manipulative relationship, Chrissy had been using Jim as a pawn in her complex game to secure wealth and power. Wasn't just a love story gone wrong. It was a calculated scheme to take control of Jim's life and future. And let's not forget that Jim Jones isn't just any ordinary celebrity. He's a rapper, businessman, and well-known figure in the hip-hop community. Someone he trusted. It's almost poetic in a tragic way. Jim worked hard to build his career and made a name for himself. But behind closed doors, Chrissy was subtly making decisions that were affecting their financial future and controlling his every move. But wait, this isn't over yet. This whole situation is about public perception, and that's where things get. As soon as Camron revealed the truth about what was truly happening, the public had a field day on social media, with fans turning against Jim and Chrissy in a way they had never seen before. Was everything we saw on TV just a lie? Was their relationship all for show? Was the question that everyone, from hip-hop fans to casual observers, began to ask as they dug into their past, bringing up every dubious move they'd made. Camron said that the answer was yes, but then came the part that really hit home. Jim Jones was no longer in charge once the courtroom revelations went public, and his empire began to fall apart. No one knew who to trust anymore, and even his closest supporters began to turn away, wondering if they had fallen for the carefully crafted lies by Chrissy. The betrayal was real, and the damage was unquestionable, but the question of Jim's future. Where does Jim go from here? The truth is that the damage caused by these revelations may be irreparable. Sure, Jim is a fighter and a survivor, but isn't just about a feud with Camron or some made-up drama for TV. It's about his entire public image being destroyed by someone he trusted most. And worse, He's lost control of the narrative, with the public now doubting everything he's ever said and done. Jim Jones is facing a challenge that may be too much to handle at this point. The public fallout is just getting started, and trust me, isn't going to be a short-lived scandal. The more people talk about it, the more secrets will surface. So buckle up, because this roller coaster is just getting started. Keep your eyes peeled because there's no telling what's coming next. Now that we've dug into the mess, the scandal, and the public chaos, let's talk about the aftermath because that's where things get even more intense. She's not exactly winning any popularity contests either, and the backlash is only going to get worse. The intense courtroom drama, the lies, and the financial secrets are only the beginning of the real consequences that are just beginning to play out. To start, Jim Jones's reputation is in ruins. He went from being a well-respected member of the hip-hop community to being the target of rumors and mockery in the blink of an eye. You know how the internet operates? One mistake, one leak, one shocking revelation, and it's like you're just a hashtag. Moreover, people are no longer supporting him, which is difficult to recover from when your entire career has been based on loyalty. Having your closest friends and supporters turn against you is like being backstabbed. But here's the worst part. His career isn't just personal, it's also professional. His music isn't even making an impression on the charts. His brand is struggling. His tours have been cut short, and ticket sales aren't nearly as high as they once were. After all, nobody in the hip-hop industry wants to be the next person exposed for working with a scammer, so losing your reputation and career means losing everything. Or at the very least, you lose all the control you believed you had. It's not just about being a rapper with a few hits anymore. It's about surviving the damage to your name, and believe me, this will take a toll. In the meantime, Chrissy Lampkin isn't doing much better. In fact, if you thought her involvement in this drama would go unnoticed, think again. She's been dragged through the mud alongside Jim, and the worst part is that she may have initiated it all. But now she's being revealed as the true mastermind, behind the deceit and manipulation. Allegedly controlling the show, pulling strings, and using Jim as a puppet in a larger game of manipulation. Although she may have fooled the public for the fallout years, she is now the one facing the music. The public views her as a manipulative figure, and her reputation is collapsing faster than a house of cards. But don't take my word for it. Let's talk about the fallout based on sources, and I'm talking about some real insider information here. The backlash against Chrissy is serious. Fans are demanding answers, calling for her to be held responsible for the way she managed Jim's career and finances. And let's not even get started on the internet trolls. Field Day Chrissy Exposed is trending, and every tweet, meme, and comment serves as a reminder that the public is done with her. She is no longer viewed as the devoted girlfriend supporting her partner. Instead, she has been portrayed as a scheming individual who exploited their relationship for personal gain, and that is a narrative that is difficult to shake off. Now let's talk about the legal ramifications because, wow, things are getting serious. The courtroom drama uncovered some serious legal red flags, including possible financial fraud, money laundering, and manipulation of business transactions. And when the law starts to sniff, there are ongoing investigations into the couple's financial dealings, according to anonymous sources. Authorities are reportedly looking into possible money laundering schemes, offshore accounts, and hidden assets. These are not just accusations being made in the media. There are actual investigations taking place. If the allegations are true, we could be looking at some serious charges, such as tax evasion and even criminal conspiracy. This is not a trivial matter, people. Now, here's where it gets even more juicy. Jim Jones may no longer be in control, but Chrissy? Well, she's not off the hook either. Chrissy has been accused of using Jim's career as a springboard to build her own empire. But what happens when her empire starts to fall apart? You bet she does. And that's the next phase of the fallout. Sources are already claiming that things are getting ugly behind the scenes, and that isn't just a personal breakup, but a public and professional split that will have long-lasting effects. Chrissy's next move is to distance herself from Jim. The IV1 couple's financial situation, business endeavors, and relationship are all falling apart, and the tension is growing every day. What does this mean for Jim and Chrissy's future? Well, we know that it will be a long and bumpy road, and no one will soon forget the mess they've made. The public is watching them closely, so they must be prepared for whatever comes next because the truth always finds a way to surface. And in this case, it's already public knowledge. Let's wrap up, shall we? Chrissy thought they could deceive everyone, but ultimately, they just That concludes today's explosive story. But believe me, we're not done yet. We're just getting started. The drama, the lies, the betrayal, this saga is far from over, and you know you want to be the first to know what happens. What's happening now isn't just about a couple's failed relationship. It's about an empire built on lies and manipulation, and we're all watching as it all comes crashing down. Will Jim be able to pick up the pieces? Will Chrissy escape this scandal unscathed? Or will she be left holding the bag for everything she's done? Only time will tell.